All right, so let's continue with graphing today. And today it's going to be a quick review. We're going to do some things with our graphing calculators to make sure that we know how to use some of the functions that are built into technology, because technology can really help us when we are working on graphing, because it gives us some quick information that is pretty useful. So let's go ahead and take a minute and solve for y on this equation, and make sure that your Desmos graphing calculator is available. All right, let's graph it. So solving for y. I know that I have to move two things, or maybe you picked up on, if I need y equals mx plus b, could I also have mx plus b equals y? Wouldn't that be the same thing? So could I just move this guy? That would be the fastest way. I could also move the 2 and the x. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and just move the 3y. So I have 2x plus 6 equals positive 3y, because this would be adding. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it. 3y equals 2x plus 6. So remember, I can just flip-flop. The algebraic properties allow me to flip-flop left to right, okay? So a can equal b, and b can equal a. It's the same thing. All right, so we're allowed to do that. So dividing by 3, I have y equals 2/3 x plus 2. So hopefully you marked your 2. You went up 2 and right 3, up 2, right 3 a couple of times, and we've got a line that's going that way. And this is positive. It's a positive slope. So make sure that your line is going up. All right, so on your Desmos graphing calculator, this is what I want us to work on a little bit today, just to kind of know that we can use our Desmos graphing calculator to find values and to look at a graph. I may not want to graph by hand. I may need different information. Like I may need to know my x-intercept, or I may need to know what is the value when x is 3, okay? So we can make use of the Desmos graphing calculator to help us. So let's go ahead and make sure that we've got our m and our b's for both of these. So -3/5, we know that's my slope. B is -2, so that one's pretty simple. This one we know we have to solve for y. Notice that it's in a different order. So I'm adding my 2x and dividing by 3. So y equals 2/3 x minus 3. Okay, 2/3 x minus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and write those numbers down so that we have what we need. All right, let's go ahead and go to our Desmos graphing calculator. All right, so let's go ahead and type in our function, y equals -3/5. And then remember, you've got to move over to the right. Your x cannot be on the bottom. If I put the x on the bottom, my graph curves. Okay, we're not talking about curves, we're talking about lines. So make sure that you move over to the right using your arrow. There's an x, and I need -2. Okay, so here's my graph. Okay, here's my graph. Now, if I want to know where that that x-intercept is, I can press on that point, and it gives me -3.33 and 0. Okay, -3.33 and 0. So that's pretty handy for finding an x-intercept if I have an equation. All right, let's do the same thing, see if we can graph our next one. So y equals 2/3 x. Remember the move over, -3. That one is going the other direction. It is a positive slope. So if I'm looking at where this one is crossing, I see that I have 4.50 as my x-intercept. The y-intercept we know, because that's 0, -3. That comes from our problem. okay? And if I'm looking for other exact points, I know that I can check some of these points to see if they are exact, okay? So definitely a handy thing to use on our Desmos Scientific, okay? So as you're working on your homework today, you may want to be double checking yourself using your Desmos graphing calculator. And it's always a quick way to get your X and Y intercepts if we don't want to solve them by hand. All right, so how do we graph these two functions? So we have y equals 2 and y equals -5. Well, remember, we've got 0 slope and we've got undefined. And remember, these have no x, so that means they cannot touch this guy. They cannot touch that guy. So if y equals 2, that's here, and y equals -5, that's here, those are going to be my 0 slopes. Those are my 0 slopes. Now I can put those into my Desmos. How that draws y equals 2, y equals -5. Okay? I can graph those two lines. Now, if I go back and look at these guys, x equals -3. Well, if this was 0 and those are my horizontal lines, chances are this is going to be my undefined because there's only one variable. And I notice that I can't touch the y-axis, okay, because there's no y. So x equals -3 is here, and x equals 6, 2, 4, 6 is here. So I have a vertical line and a vertical line. Let's see if we can graph these on Desmos graphing and see what happens. So x equals 3. Yep, graphs it, okay? And I have x equals -6. Or +6, -2, I think is what they were. But notice that you can graph y equals or x equals on the Desmos graphing calculator if you need to kind of check yourself to make sure that you're accurate. All right, let's do a quick review of the algebraic solving of x and y intercepts because you've got a quiz coming up and we need to make sure that you're good to go. And remember, we want standard form, so ax plus by. So why don't you start by finding your equation? Okay, let's see how you did. All right, you are helping to plan an awards banquet for school. You need to rent tables to seat 180 people. There's my total. So I know it equals 180. Tables come in two sizes. Small tables seat 4 and large seat 6. So if I'm defining my variables, the x is the small tables and the y is the large tables. Because remember, it's the order of the problem. So I have 4x plus 6y equals 180. Now remember, if we're solving these algebraically, we're going to use substitution. And when we're looking at an x-intercept, y is 0, and y-intercept, x is 0. So 4 times 0, 6y, 180. And 4x plus 60 equals 180. So go ahead and find your x value and your y value and write those as ordered pairs. Hopefully you came up with a 45 here. So this would be 45, 0. And 180 divided by 6 is going to bring me to 30. So that one is 0, 30. 0, 30. Okay, so hopefully you're good to go. You've got a little bit of practice to do today. to kind of just make sure that you're awesome at graphing from all forms. And then we've got a concept check and a quiz, and we're gonna move on to our next piece of information on linears in this chapter. Have a great day.